Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Washington Wrestle Talk. I'm your host, Mike. I'm very excited for in 2 weeks to have one of my very first interviews with a session wrestler or private wrestler. Her name is Sugar, but in 2 weeks she will be a call-in guest here. And then in 3 weeks, I will be in Atlanta, Georgia. Hopefully, I'll get some interviews while I'm there for this show. But it's been a relatively quiet week on the wrestling scene, with the exception of some backstage news in the WWE. As I reported either last week or 2 weeks ago, Hideo Itami has been released by the company. As has Ronnie Arnell, also known as Ty Dillinger. Dillinger has not been seen really since October, when he suffered a hand injury, and they had an angle on SmackDown Live in October at a show I was at, where Randy Orton put his fingers and hand in the turnbuckle, the actual turnbuckle, and bent them back, simulating, he broke his hand. But Dillinger really hadn't been used much since, he was better off in NXT, as was Hideo Itami. Their characters were created there, and they had a lot more creative freedom there, but they will be missed. There's rumors that Dillinger may go to All Elite Wrestling, and Hideo Itami has already reverted his Twitter handle back to his original name of Kenta, so he may be going to back to Japan, either to one of the big three promotions, those being New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan Pro Wrestling, or Pro Wrestling Noah. He originally came from Pro Wrestling Noah, where he started off as a junior heavyweight and then graduated to the heavyweight division, having some outstanding matches with guys, en route to, some heavyweight title reigns. Also released this week was TJ Perkins, which came as kind of a shock to a lot of people. But there's been some conjecture about why he was released, and, whether it was disciplinary, or, it was creative, had nothing for him. But, he really didn't seem to fit in the WWE when I first saw him. He'd been with the company since the Cruiserweight Classic in 2016. He won that tournament and became the first Cruiserweight champion of this, iteration of it. You can't discount the old WCW Cruiserweight Championship that became the WWE Cruiserweight Championship in the early 2000s. But TJP lost the Cruiserweight Championship to Brian Kendrick, and he's been floundering ever since. He's gone from babyface to heel, and he's another name that may end up either back in TNA, and TNA is just a sorry state right now, or he may go to All Elite Wrestling. Also fired or released this week was well-respected wrestler and producer Arn Anderson. Apparently there was an incident at a house show that took place, and Arn took the full blame for it, and he was subsequently fired. There was no big secret that he and Vince McMahon did not get along, because McMahon's got he has no mind for the business anymore. Whereas Double A, he was a wrestler for, 25 years. He was well respected by his peers. He had a mind for the business. Plus, he was friends with Ric Flair. And, he was particularly liked by John Cena, Triple H, the top guys in the company. And we'll see what happens there. And either Arn's going to retire, or he's going to sign on as a producer with either TNA or All Elite Wrestling. Speaking of TNA, it was reported this week that new backstage producers or agents were hired by the WWE, and those include guys like Steve Corino, who comes up from NXT. He was a coach at NXT. Now he is a producer for either SmackDown or Raw. Also, it comes as a big shock that TNA Hall of Famer Chris Parks, also known as Abyss, has just started with the company as a agent, as has Sanjay Dutt, and as has Shane Helms. Bruce Pritchard also has returned to the creative team of WWE. So you can read between the lines there if you want, but a lot of influx of old TNA guys are coming into the WWE. I don't know if it's so much Vince is doing or if it's Triple H doing this, but Triple H has a mind for the business. I mean, people talk about, a lot of bad things that he's done. Of course, the things that come to mind are the curtain call at Madison Square Garden in 1996. His marriage to Stephanie McMahon and how he's doing this, holding guys down, blah, blah, blah. But let's think about what else he's done. I mean, NXT has become what it is today because of his vision, what he wants to see. He has forged partnerships with, smaller companies like Evolve here in the United States. ICW in Scotland, WXW from Germany. The list goes on and on and on. Progress. In fact, back in November, I want to say, Triple H actually was on ICW Fight Club, which is their TV show that they have every week. It's not really live. It's not really taped. It's shown on their on-demand subscription series, which I've talked about before. But he actually made an appearance on the show with Pete Dunne and, Mark Dallas, the owner of ICW. So, he's forged some bonds with these smaller companies, and you see the influx of the talent that come in. I mean, right now, the Street Profits, tag team in NXT, they're the Evolve Tag Team Champions. One of their other developmental guys, Fabian Eichner, who's more on the NXT UK scene. He was the Evolve champion for a little bit. So it's, you never know what you're going to get. Of course, New Japan just had another big show. The big thing out of that one was the Briscoe brothers, the reigning Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, have challenged the Gorillas of Destiny, who just won the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships from Sonata and Evil, Los Ingobernables, at the show. So the match has been set for Madison Square Garden, title for title, Briscoes versus the Gorillas of Destiny at Ring of Honor New Japan show in April. Earlier today, ICW had their Square Go match, which is kind of like the Royal Rumble, except it's more like it's like the Royal Rumble. They have 30 men that come out every 2 minutes, but 5 of those guys have weapons, and I'm trying to see if I can gather the results here. I do know that one of the premier matches that they had was their title Lionheart um, facing off against Angelico. And if you don't know who Angelico is, he was mostly known for Lucha Underground, had some absolutely fantastic matches. But that was the main, title match. And, oh, excuse me. Still battling this cold, sorry. Let's see if I can find the results here. SWG3 TV events. No, that's not it. If I get the results of the Square Go here before I end the podcast here, of course Google's trying to say Google's trying to say that it's ice, Square Go ice. This is last year's results. We don't want last year's results. Another thing that I should mention that there was a retirement this week. I can't pronounce his name. Takayuki Izuka retired after 33 years. He was a tag team competitor mostly. He changed his name in the later part of the 2000s, and he became a more diabolical guy. In fact, he used to tag team with Tenzon as friendship tag back in the day, and of course his final match was a tag match. It was a 6-man or 8-man tag match where he teamed with Minoru Suzuki and Taichi to take on Okada, Yano, and Tenzon. And Tenzon was pleading with Izuka to go back to his old persona. And, Izuka was fighting it, and it just never happened. So, but after a 33 year career, Izuka has retired now. So, it's good that it's just weird. I'm just kind of spacing out here because I'm looking up results. And the Square Go's not. I'm trying to find the Square Go results for you guys, and I don't have it. But I'll try to find it before the evening is over. I'm looking at my the Square Go 4 title matches, of course, and more Lionheart. Well, if I have to, I will go on their Facebook page and see what it says here. Interesting. Yeah, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to find the results for you guys. Tomorrow night on Raw is Ric Flair's 70th birthday. It's going to be held in Atlanta, Georgia, which is where I'll be in about 3 weeks. Also, this is a big noteworthy Raw because Roman Reigns makes his return to give an update on his progress from his